Natalie, for house builders that have show homes, why should they be considering home staging?
Home staging is very different setup than having an interior design based show home. I very much see the show home as being that incredible experience, and every house builder, every developer should absolutely have one to sell their brand and have that real wow factor for their marketing. For me, the show home is you walk in and you are immersed in a whole experience, whether it's the fragrance, whether it's the decor, the wall dressings, the window dressings, just that complete dramatic experience. Whereas a staged property can be very, very different in that it can really support you to not only show the vision of the property and show the space of the property, but also overcome any difficulties that certain units may have. Because as much as we would love to think that every development is going to completely kind of fly off the market, and that's every developer and house builder's aim, there is always a property or two that sticks, whether it's got a smaller garden, whether or not it's the middle of a terrace. And by staging that property to show it off to its best of its abilities is going to give you a budget-friendly approach to get an experience similar to that of your larger flagship show home, but maybe make it more affordable, more achievable, and be a much more flexible option.
Okay, and for house builders, so the majority of them have a show home provider that they're probably very happy with.
Yeah.
Home staging is quite a new concept.
It is.
What are the benefits of home staging, and what are the key differences?
Yeah, so I would completely rule out the idea of home staging being linked to interior design at all. So many house builders and developers will have their existing show home provider who may come from an interior design creative background, and that absolutely should be the case. A home stager sits much more within a marketing tool than it does an interior design tool. Don't get me wrong, staged homes look incredible. They will photograph beautifully and they will look amazing through marketing, branding, website, but they have a bit of a hidden agenda, the same way that John Lewis or a retail company will spend a lot of time getting to put together the behind the scenes of their marketing for a product. Home stagers work very much to that foundation. So within our home staging service at Little Barn Door, I would say more than 50% of our design time is actually spent profiling who a buyer is. So whereas for a show home, you may very much be looking at what are the current trends, how do you need the property to feel, what does the kind of presentation of the house need to be like to give it the best, strongest presentation. For a staged property, it's very much around who is going to buy this home. And as a home stager, you do a lot of the groundwork to understand and profile who is going to buy the property the same way as you would do for marketing. So who is going to buy this 2-bedroom apartment? What do they read? Who is going to come and visit them? What car do they drive? What do they eat? How do they use their kitchen space? Really spending a lot of time psychologically understanding who is going to buy that property, so that when we stage it, it is literally staged for that individual. And it's kind of where the name home staging comes from. The interior design and show home, it's a show. It's it is an experience. It's going to be dramatic. It's going to be kind of bringing people in, whereas a staged property is staged to be able to market it for an individual. Okay. So it just makes it very different than that from a creative basis. A lot of home stagers will naturally have that incredible eye to be able to get properties together, which is why they look amazing. But the secret weapon to a home stager is that they really get to know the crux of who this individual is, so that every item that is brought into the home is specifically for that individual person. Because the aim of the game for us as home stagers is for somebody to walk into the home and go, this was actually created for me. Like I want them to walk into the office and look at the book on the desk and go, oh, that's really funny. I've actually got that book on the desk myself, so that they build that emotional connection and want to buy that property.
Excellent. So if you were a house builder watching this and you have got some stock units or some stock units coming up, what's the process for home staging?
So for us, it's a really seamless process. And I know it's a very similar process for other home stagers across the UK. I'm actually on the board for the Home Staging Association UK and Ireland. So I've got a very strong connection with other home staging professionals. And I know we tend to take the same sort of process, but every home staging professional may do things a little bit different because their business may be different. But if I talk through kind of how we work, we aim to be able to install a property within 7 to 10 days, which is where it's very different from a full show home experience installation, which could take months, if not years, to be able to perfect everything that's going into that experience show home. But for us, we aim to be able to get it done within 7 to 10 days. So for one of our developers and for our house builders, if they've got stock that needs to move, if it's a mid-terrace that is just sticking, everything else is selling and there's one property, they don't want to be waiting 6 months to get it ready. So we will go across, either take a floor plan or find out details about the property or try and get out to see the property with view to get a pricing proposal together within 24 hours. So it's very quick. We can give them an indication of what needs to be brought into the property and what that looks like to make it work with their marketing budget. And then behind the scenes, we begin talking to our agents, to their sales and marketing directors to understand who the target buyer is and get everything hopefully installed by the end of the week. All of the furniture for a stager, or for most stagers, or speaking for myself, we own the furniture, which is why we can turn it around very quickly. For some of our larger developer clients who want the full show home experience, they may choose to purchase all of the furniture themselves and keep it within their show home because it's going to be there for a longer lease. But with a standard staged new build, we have all of the furniture in our warehouse ready to go, which gives us the ability to allocate, design, and get everything in situ within the property very, very quickly. And then that usually stays within the property for around about 10 weeks. 80% of the properties we've touched since launching the business have gone off the market within 4 weeks. Frustratingly, it's not 100%, but we hold a retirement chain, which drags on a little bit longer, but they go very, very quickly. So within that 10 weeks, we'd anticipate you're able to do all of your viewings, any mortgage valuations take place, any additional visits, mum, dad, cousins, friends can come and visit the property whilst it's still set up. And by the time you get to that 10 weeks, you should be progressing closer to the exchange period at which we destage the property and it's ready to move on to the next owner. And for a developer and for a house builder, the benefit of that is that all of that stock can come out of the house and they don't need to worry about where they're going to put it. They don't need to worry about moving it to another unit. And most importantly, when they have another property that they need to be able to kind of flip quickly and get it off the market, they know they can stage it in a completely different way because we can then put together new designs using a fresh stock of furniture, a fresh set of accessories that are going to align with the target buyer for that property, and they don't need to worry.
And what are you seeing in the marketplace at the moment from your side?
So for developers at the moment, I'm really noticing that they are not just staging one property or not just having one show home. And this is especially more present coming into 2023. I think for 2020, 2021, 2022, our developers were very much about having the one show home and that being the key flagship for people to come and visit, to come and see, to get a feel for their brand, to get to understand how they put their properties together and the high quality of the finish. But this year, we're certainly seeing our house builders and our developers forward thinking that they need to have more property styles staged alongside having their main experience show home, because that's giving them the opportunity to then bring somebody in to see the show home, somebody to become fully immersed in their brand and really excited and really kind of get them into the spirit of their viewing, and then take them to a staged home that really still is set up in a way that keeps them engaged and shows them how to use the space and ultimately gets them the offer on the house that is targeted to them, rather than having one show home property and then go to a vacant property and just lose that connection.
And do staged homes sell quicker than unstaged? Fine.
Yeah, absolutely. The Home Staging Association UK and Ireland release a report every year. Last year's report showed that staged homes sold 55% faster than unstaged properties. And the main reason for that is because when people are coming to view the vacant property, or when they're coming out on site, they're immediately given the solution of how they'd be able to not only use the space, but also live their life in that home. And I think that's a really key point, is that staging a property isn't just about getting a furniture pack and putting it in a room. It's about showing somebody how they can not only use the space, but how that relates to how they would live their life. So by giving them that solution, when they walk into the property, they immediately step in and they can let their guard down and they feel a little bit more at ease, and they can see, like, I'd like to sit in that chair and read my book, or I can imagine I sat around that table, rather than standing there spending a large portion of their viewing thinking, would our sofa fit there? Is this a study? Or is this a fourth bedroom? I can't tell how I'd use this space. So by giving them the solution to using the space, and by showing them how it aligns with their lifestyle, why this house is made for them, you're not allowing them to lose precious time or spotting barriers that may not even impact.
And this probably all sounds great to a house builder, and they're thinking, brilliant, home staging, that's what I do with my stock plots, but then thinking budget. Like, what's the cost difference between show homes and staging a property? The
main difference between the show homes and the staged properties is that show home is your investment. It is your marketing investment. You as a house builder and developer may be purchasing all of this property, all of this furniture, all of these accessories, all of the pieces that put everything together, plus the additional interior design hours, the consultation hours. You could be looking at tens and tens and tens of thousands of pounds to be able to do that, especially for a larger property. For a staged property, you have the flexibility to lease the furniture in. So to bring, rather than have to invest in buying everything that is needed, actually just leasing the furniture on a weekly or monthly basis from your home staging provider. And also you can keep that period much lower. So if you know that you have a property that it's literally just sitting there because it's got a north-facing garden, or because it's a smaller property, if you know that it will sell once it is staged, why do you need it in for 6 months? Actually, you've then got the flexibility to keep it down to 10 weeks, or even less if it went quicker and you could agree it with your home stager. So the main thing I say to our developers and our house builders is, most home staging professionals can be creative with the way that they are working, as long as we have some clarification on kind of marketing budget and where you need to go. So always kind of ask your home stager, firstly, to put together a proposal. Can't get my words out. But firstly, to put together a proposal. But if that number isn't where you want to get to, like, be open and honest and say, in line with our marketing budget, actually, I have £5,000, I have £10,000, whatever your number is, to put together the property. What can you do? And see what they're able to do working backwards. It's significantly cheaper to stage your property because of it being leased and being for a shorter period. But there is great power in having that powerful statement show home on your development, especially because you can use it to show off who you are as a brand. For house builders that are considering home staging, what is it that should excite them about the opportunities that home staging provides? It's having the flexibility to create something different for every single property. So we've worked with many, many different house builders and developers over the years, and all of them have been at different stages of how they prepare their show homes, or if they've got viewing homes or staged homes, or what they put together within their business. Some of them go out and the sales manager will buy all the furniture themselves and go in and take time out of their diary to dress everything. And by the end of 2 weeks, they realise that they haven't done any of the work that they needed to do, but they've got this staged property, which is okay. Some of them will get furniture packs in. Some of them will go down the interior design route and have the big show home in place. But the reason they should be really excited about what staging offers them is that it gives them that flexibility. If they want to decide that they have a staged property for 6 months, they can do that. If they want it just for 10 weeks, they can do that. If they know that their development is a marina location and they want to make sure that they have pieces that align with the location, but without being stuck with marina coastal themed furniture in their back office for the rest of their days, then they can have peace of mind that every single unit can be created to suit that target buyer and that location. What we've learned from some of our developers who have previously done the kind of sourcing their own furniture and then somebody from the admin team staging the property is they get to the point where they have all the same marketing over and over again. Their Instagram is filled with the same dining table and the same chairs and the same beds, because in order for it to be cost effective, they've got to reuse this furniture. But actually, the property in the middle of the New Forest might be very different to the property in the centre of Chichester or the centre of London. So staging allows them to be able to have just this huge range of furniture and accessories because it comes from the staging company rather than having to come from their own stock.
So you stage resale properties as well as new homes. What do you think the new home sector could learn from the resale sector?
So much. So much. I think the main thing that we get from the resales market is that it is a home. And whilst there are always problems that come up and always changes that, you know, homeowners need to make in order to prepare their properties in the right way to go on the market. And if you've been on Rightmove and looked at houses for sale, you know exactly what I'm talking about, things hanging on the radiators and all those things. Whilst there are always those points of interest that homeowners need to address, the thing that you get from viewing a resale home is that the moment you walk in, it's a home. It's a home. You walk in, you feel that somebody's lived there. You feel the love and joy and memories and see people's treasures in the home. And whilst it may not be perfect because the colour choices may not be right or the sofa might be too big, the warmth and the love and the feeling of home is there. And I think that is the biggest thing that we can take away from resale homes and put into new properties. When I've been buying my own homes in the past, I've bought new properties and I've bought resale properties. And I've seen both experiences, and I felt what it feels like to walk into a show home and what it feels like to then walk into kind of the developing plot and the joys that come with kind of early stages of development. And I've realized, kind of being on that side of the fence of buying a new home, just how cold it can feel sometimes when you walk into a show home and it's beautiful and it's immaculate and it's so well presented and it's got beautiful coffee tables that haven't got fingerprints on, and whilst they look incredible, you kind of lack a feeling of home. And then you go to a resale property and you walk in and the heating's already been on and somebody has kind of made toast in the morning, and you just have that feeling of it being a home. And I think if there's a way that we can pick that up and put it into a new home, then the connection and the emotional connection that a viewer is going to have whilst they're going around a show home property or going around a staged home on a new site, that is going to be so very powerful.
So what you're saying is there's not stuff everywhere.
That's it.
I imagine your house is very different to mine, being a home stager, but mine, what makes my house a home is a lot of stuff.
Yeah, and I think every home has a lot of stuff. Yeah. Don't believe that my house is perfectly presented because I put all of my energy into everybody else's homes. I have 3 children, so I very much know what it means to have the stuff. But I do think there's something really special in the feeling. It's not so much all of the stuff and the clutter. And I would say to a homeowner selling their home, take time to make sure that your property is well presented and that you do declutter and you do organize and you take those things out. But there's something about the feeling of a home. And sometimes when you go into something that is show and is polished, that little detail can lack. But there are so many ways that can be bought into a new property. And more recently, some of the house builders and developers that we've been working with, part of our strategy with them has been to make that really a key part of what we're bringing in. So there used to be a time where for a staged property, you wouldn't bring a toothbrush. Or for some developers, that still is the case. Like, you do keep the bathrooms really neutral. But we're seeing times now where some of our house builders, actually, they do want a little bit of makeup left on the side, or they do want like bread on the side and a bread knife and a stew pot and flowers in the sink and glasses left on top of the book. And
so no more bowls of plastic fruit.
That's it. No more plastic fruit. Or seeing sofas where the cushions look like they've been sat on, rather than the perfect chop that I would say for the past kind of 15 years we have been in that place. So I think the biggest thing that we can take away from resale homes is that feeling, and anything that we can do to take that cold, polished feel that you get in a new home, anything that we can just do that to ease that and bring in the warmth of a home is going to help.
That's really interesting, that's very interesting. And this probably will answer this next question, but in the new homes market, what do you feel is broken?
I think for me there are two things. One is very out of my league, being a home stager.
Go for it.
In pricing and awareness of pricing, so very different. So I think that there is a big premium on buying a new home. Like, everybody knows. I wouldn't like to say what the percentage is, but there is a big markup on new homes. And I think in a time where people need new homes more than ever because we are in a shortage, everyday people may struggle to see why they are paying a premium. Now, for every house builder, for every developer, for every site manager and everybody within a development business, they know the spec of the underfloor heating and the insulation that's gone in and the energy efficiencies that have been put in that boost that price. But I don't think that everybody understands that. I think what they see is it is a premium price because it's an aspirational product. And I think sometimes that can be quite intimidating for people. Along those lines, and bring it kind of back to my world of home staging, a lot of the feel of show properties, or even so some staged properties, can be to make a product seem more appealing and more aspirational. And I think that sometimes it can be put at a level, I always say to people, everybody wants to go for a stretch goal. Everybody wants a little bit more. So, do offer them something that is like a dream and like, oh, I'm really excited. Can I get this next best thing? But sometimes it's too high. And I think it's really important for people to remember who they are selling to and actually where their aspirational level is. Because by putting pieces of furniture in that are not appropriate to a target buyer, they might look grand, they might make you look kind of aspirational and be rich and bold and like the Rolex of property sales. But if that's not in the right area for your target buyer, then actually it's going to end up intimidating people and it's going to make people feel as if it's not the home for them. So really remembering who the target buyer is, who the target audience is, and showing them that the product is made for them.
Yeah, and I think that's really interesting. I've been considering recently how a lot of house builders from a brand point of view presenting themselves in a very similar way at the moment. And there's a danger that a lot of them could get lost in this sea of sameness. And I suppose that's the same with interior design I know we went through a period where the aim was to kind of blow people's socks off when you walked into a show home with outrageous things. And it seems to have toned down a bit. But I suppose the benefit of home staging is that you have the ability to really differentiate, not just between developers, but between plots on developments and developments for a house builder.
Yeah, completely. And I think when we start to build a relationship with a house builder, we'll get to understand, like, what are their core values? Are they really focused on sustainability? Are they really focused on energy efficiency? Are they really wanting to achieve an aspirational image? Like, what is it that is at that base level of who they are as a business? But on top of that, with every single unit we take, we will get to understand every single development. So what is it about that development? What is the location? What type people live within the area? Who is going to come to that development? And like I've touched on before, like, what do they drive? What do they eat? What's their family situation? Do they entertain? Really get to the crux of who those people are. So we will create a staged property so that it still has the baseline of who that developer is, but make sure that ultimately it's created in the right way to be able to sell. Because if we give that kind of hugely impactful, wild show home every single time, that may not be fitting to that particular development or that particular unit or even that particular developer. And it is good seeing that developers are starting to consider that more and more. We're certainly seeing the show home softening a little, and really connecting with that feeling. I mean, ultimately, emotion sells, and being able to wow somebody from the moment that they walk in, from not so much like a wow factor way, but kind of like a comforting way, that's going to then help them to feel in a better, safer position to put in an offer on the property. And I think that's why staged properties sell so much faster than especially leaving them vacant, because it's giving viewers the comfort, the reassurance that they have stepped into the right product for them.
And so to close, you are about to buy a new home.
Yes.
You're going to have a viewing. Anybody can take you on that viewing. So
Yes.
anyone that you maybe look up to, or a celebrity, or you can spend an hour with them. They'll walk you around the house, sit on the sofa, have a chat. Who would you
Yes.
pick and why?
Okay, I've got two answers.
Okay.
I'd love to go on a viewing with Iron Man. So Tony Stark, in like a business capacity, I would love to see his perception on a home, because he's very direct, he's very to the point, but he always finds a solution. So I would love to go through that experience to see actually, like, how would Iron Man sell a home?
And would he be dressed as Iron Man, or
Oh, wow.
in suit or out of suit?
Like keep it professional. Let's go Tony Stark.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
let's keep out of the Iron Man suit. But I think there's that character of being very honest, understanding everything. I think one thing that can get very lost in house viewings and property viewings is when you're not being taken on the viewing by somebody who understands everything about it. And there's nothing more frustrating than asking that question that's been bugging you and someone go, I'll find out when I go back to the office. So actually, Iron Man doing the viewing, being confident, knowing the information and being able to give me the answers, be direct, give me a solution. That's who.
Is the Hulk the next one?
No, the Hulk would be too much for me. There's the second one, on a bit of more of a definitely a boring note compared to Iron Man. I would love somebody who's viewing a property to take me around and do a viewing of one of my staged homes. I would love to know exactly how they view or how they would view a property. I think because that's one of the most important things for me, is understanding it's all good and well dressing a show home or dressing a staged property to look in line with the brand, in line with the developer's brand, in line with how we want to stage it. But understanding how the viewer sees the property, how the buyer navigates around a viewing, I think would be really, really key.
Excellent. Well, Natalie, it's been a pleasure having a chat with you, and a pleasure watching your journey, and I wish you all the very best for the future.
Thank you so much.